Hey there, parents and caregivers of 5-week-old babies. Welcome to Little Kids Lessons. Today we're talking about those exciting 5-week-old baby milestones. First off, let's give you a big pat on the back. Just 5 weeks ago, you might have been feeling a bit overwhelmed with the whole parenting gig. Diapers, feedings, and figuring out how to hold your little one, it's a lot to take in. But look at you now, finding your groove and getting the hang of things. Way to go! Now, let's talk about those heart-melting baby smiles. Around this time, your little one is starting to become fascinated by your face. They can sense your presence from across the room, and those grins are their way of saying, "Hey, I know you." In another month or so, those smiles will be happening all day long, and before you know it, they'll be adding in some adorable little squeals. That's right, your baby is taking their first steps towards spoken language and conversation. For some families, this is also the time when babies start meeting other caregivers. Whether it's daycare or another caregiving situation, there are a lot of logistical details to work through. Packing up for the morning, getting your baby used to a bottle, it can feel like a lot. And let's be real, it's not just logistical challenges. This transition can be an emotional roller coaster for parents, too. In many communities, finding childcare can be tough. There just aren't enough resources to go around. So even though it might seem way too early, it's smart to start researching your options now. Talk to friends, relatives, and even strangers at the park. Get those recommendations and start making a plan. Now, most babies don't experience separation anxiety until around 4 or 5 months, but you might be feeling it a bit sooner. That's totally normal. Take the time to get to know your new caregivers. Do a trial run of the morning routine and share your advice and observations. These early conversations can help you feel more confident and comfortable with the people who will be caring for your little one. Let's talk about feeding schedules. If you're breastfeeding, your 5-week-old is probably eating about 2 to 3 ounces every 2 to 3 hours. As they get closer to 2 months, they'll start eating a bit more, around 4 to 5 ounces every 3 to 4 hours. Keep an eye on those hunger cues and trust your baby to let you know when they're ready to eat. For formula-fed babies, you're probably looking at about 4 ounces every 4 hours. And you might find that your baby is starting to drop that middle-of-the-night feeding. But remember, every baby is different. A good rule of thumb is that your baby should be eating about 2.5 ounces of formula per pound of body weight each day. Now, let's talk about baby talk. And no, I don't mean your baby's adorable coos, although those are pretty great, too. I'm talking about that new language you've started speaking, motherese. You know, those short, repeated phrases in a high-pitched, sing-songy voice. Think of it as a tiny, two-way conversation. You say a few phrases in motherese, then pause and give your baby a chance to respond. It might be a coo, a smile, or even a little shriek. Then you respond with a bit more motherese. These little chats usually only last a couple of minutes at this age, but they're teaching your baby an important lesson. The way we show love and respect is by paying attention and taking turns. Now, let's talk about fussiness. Around 5 to 6 weeks, babies tend to reach peak fussiness. If you're in the thick of it right now, you're not alone. Parents have been trying to figure out why babies cry and how to help them since the beginning of time. You might hear a lot of different theories about what's causing the fussiness. Gas, reflux, being overtired or bored, there are a lot of possibilities. And then there's colic, which is a word that gets thrown around a lot. Colic technically means crampy stomach pain, and it can definitely seem like that's what's going on, especially if your baby is doubling up, getting red-faced, and passing gas. But how can you tell if your baby is actually crying from pain? Start with some tried and true calming tricks, like the 5 S's, swaddling, side/stomach position, shushing, swinging, and sucking. Most of the time, these techniques can help soothe a fussy baby pretty quickly. If they don't seem to be working, double-check to make sure you're doing them correctly. If your baby is still fussing, try cranking up the white noise. A hairdryer or exhaust fan can work wonders. And if all else fails, some parents swear by a good old-fashioned car ride. Of course, if nothing seems to be calming your baby or if the fussiness is combined with other concerning symptoms, like being listless, lethargic, not eating well, or running a fever, it's always best to call your doctor and get medical advice. But most of the time, that early evening fussiness has a simpler explanation. After a few weeks of life, babies start becoming more and more aware of the world around them. They're spending more time awake and alert, taking in all the sights, sounds, and smells. And by the end of the day, all that stimulation can just be too much, leading to a meltdown. This is especially true for babies with more sensitive or passionate temperaments. Thanks for joining us today on Little Kids Lessons. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with all the other parents and caregivers in your life. And let us know in the comments, what has been your favorite 5-week-old baby milestone so far? We'd love to hear from you.